It has been reported that sales at Bungie for Destiny were running 45% below projections for the year, and that the layoffs are a part of a bigger thing happening over at PlayStation. That 45% revenue figure is projections.
They projected too high.
They are in the red or in the black, I am not too sure of. I'm imagining a world where PlayStation saw these numbers and told Bungie that something needed to happen. However, IGN reports that, quote, Bungie took responsibility for the layoffs rather than laying them at the feet of parent company Sony. Parsons, CEO, told employees that the layoffs were largely due to underperformance of Destiny 2 over the last year, as well as lower than expected pre-orders for the upcoming expansion, The Final Shape.
How do we know if any of that's true? How do we actually know if anything any one of these companies saying is true? Because is Bungie just protecting their parent company? Is Bungie telling the truth and they actually had no requirements from Sony to make certain amounts of profit, so they had to fire people, so they had less labor cost? We don't know.
End quote. It did not matter who you were at Bungie, I guess, unless you were a part of upper management or leadership, as I have not heard anything on those higher end positions.
Okay, I'm watching this B-roll and I can't help but noticing he doesn't have recuperation on, and he picks up orbs and doesn't heal.
In those areas, it didn't matter. You were not safe. New hires, old guard, didn't matter what department. Everyone was...
Michael Salvatore? Peace. Lead art director for like 30 years? Peace.
subjected to this, including very senior employees, like back from the Halo days and earlier. Even Michael Salvatore, you know, the main music guy, along with Michael Seacrest, both are gone. Although it has been confirmed that the music for Final Shape has been recorded and is probably in the process of getting mastered for the expansion at this time.
But remember, they kept the right people for Destiny.
In total, it looks like about 100 people, or 8% of the company. Employees are getting 3 months of severance and insurance, but I assume the fate
What do you do
of
at Bungie?
Contract workers,
I'm the
or
music man.
employees is probably a bit worse. IGN has been moved to June 2024 and Marathon pushed to 2025, which has been in development since 2019, and Bungie has yet to say anything about anything that has happened. I don't know if there's going to be a TWID on Thursday when this video comes out. We'll see. If there is, I will post it in the description if it has anything of substance. These poor revenue numbers compared to projections are based on the fact that Lightfall was not exactly a hit and that interest in the game has waned over the past few months.
I thought Lightfall numbers were decent, but player retention was bad, which turns less revenue because of microtransactions.
It should be pretty apparent to most people active on the game. Play times are down across the board. We hit near record high numbers during Lightfall, and we have crashed down to one of the lowest peak player counts ever, with November 2023 having potential to be the lowest, in addition to October 2023 having the lowest average concurrent players since Steam charts started tracking the information in 2019.
I looked on Monday, 500,000 players over the last 24 hours in all of Destiny, compared to Fortnite's 44 million on Saturday.
Keep in mind, those numbers are for Steam only, but I'm guessing they correlate.
Player retention is bad because Lightfall is bad and people left.
To some degree. The thing
Fair.
that is probably one of the more frustrating things to hear is this quote. Quote, employees were also told that Destiny 2 player sentiment was at an all-time low. Sources tell IGN that this issue had been flagged to leadership repeatedly for months prior to the layoffs, with employees begging for necessary changes to win players back, end quote. This is followed up by the frustration that probably the majority of people laid off had nothing to do with decisions made by upper management, but had to suffer the penalties of their decisions anyway, which isn't exactly anything new when it comes to layoffs, unfortunately. That is most of the new stuff that I've seen. I know Astacross put out a video talking about Marathon and content creators that were invited to play it, stuff along those lines, saying how they thought it wasn't good or whatever, but I will let you review that video on your own time because I have had zero engagement with Marathon whatsoever, including talking to anyone who has played it outside of a 2-sentence.
To me, I kind of like the fact that
a while ago with an
the reported
person
story is
basically
Bungie management
said,
and screwing things up, and
Yeah,
the
I
people
checked.
that we actually interact
I have
with
not played
have been
Marathon.
trying
I have not been
to
invited to any events, and
be on
that
our
is not
side,
just
but
to dodge an NDA. I have not played nor seen.
they've just
anything
been
about
like overruled. Like that gives me a good feeling. I don't know why, because it's like, well, management's not going to change. Like, whoever's overruling the people we interface with are just going to fire the people that are trying to root for us. So it's like, I don't know. It still gives me a good vibe, though. I feel like
Marathon, and honestly, I will be very surprised if
Makes
I
a lot
see
more
it
sense
before
now.
its release. I am not exactly the target market for the game based on the limited
Cross
information
deleted
that we
said
know of.
video. The marathon thing was rage bait. I mean, come on. The whole marathon players were at Bungie, or Tarkov players were at Bungie, and they said they didn't even want to play the game, so all the money going in out of Destiny back at good to Marathon, blah blah blah. Bro, it's a game that's 3 years out. It's a sci-fi shooter. It's not a slow-paced, hyper-realistic Tarkov. No wonder Tarkov players didn't want to play Marathon. Okay, sorry.
I would be surprised at this point if Bungie invited Destiny 2 creators to check out the game just as a, hey, come check out the game because you've been covered in Destiny for so long, kind of a deal. You know what I mean? So, am I feeling much different compared to when the news first? Am I feeling so? Because you've been covered in Destiny for so long, kind of a deal. You know what I mean? So, am I feeling much
Great
different
soundbite
compared to when the news first started to break? Not really. I'm still really bummed about the situation
Same.
as a whole. Shocker. I feel bad for all the employees
Shocker.
who got laid off. I knew a few of them, so I'm hoping they get back on their feet. I feel bad for the people at Bungie who just had to watch their friends and coworkers get laid off just instantly, just like that.
Star Horse?
And now have to try to right the
Datto
ship.
Horse?
Much fewer people at the helm, 8% fewer people. According to Jason Schreier, feedback internally for Final Shape was, quote, good, not great, end quote, which is part of the reason as to why Final Shape got delayed. One of the big questions I got during the 3.5-hour live stream that I did recently, linked in the description, is what can Bungie realistically do to improve Final Shape in the extra time that they've given themselves? And
Delay it again. Hire multiple studios to work on it, just like Forsaken. And let it cook for another year or two.
honestly, I have no idea. Thank you for your honesty, Datto. You're welcome. To take a game that is getting good, not great, feedback, something that I feel is probably pretty locked in at this point, and turn it around into something that even gets great, not amazing feedback in 3 to 4 months while you just suffered layoffs seems incredibly difficult. I've said it a million times. Destiny knows what it is, and to see significant shifts just seems unlikely. And at this point, I don't know
Yeah,
what
they're
it would
set in their
take
ways.
to get Destiny to overcome a barrier like that. I really don't. People asked if Bungie would do another big community summit, and I think that's unlikely, especially after what feels
Too
like
late.
a chunk
It's
of
way
the
too late.
community team and events manager, shout out Bianchi, love you, got laid off. And I don't know if this situation is lighting a fire in people's hearts to really come out with some wild new stuff to experiment with for Destiny, or if people are just feeling,
in my opinion,
defeated about
Lightfall story sucked
Probably the
because
latter
it
right now.
included new characters we
Hopefully
didn't
the
care
former
about.
later. A lot of feedback.
Quality of life wise,
People canceling their
Lightfall I thought was pretty good. Some improvements were made, some decent changes to the daily grind, but it was overshadowed by the fact that a lot of us are veterans and our loot is the loot's kind of boring now because we already have a lot of good stuff and they haven't sunset in a while, and they brought out origin traits on re-skinned whatever weapons, and so the juice it just ain't worth the squeeze. If we needed to grind for loot, and if Lightfall had a story that included characters I actually cared about, which Final Shape can easily do both of those things with not a complete rewrite and restructuring of what Destiny is, then I feel like it could pop off like more like a Witch Queen, or better than a 45% lack of revenue.
Pre-orders as a result of all this. Cancel your pre-order, boycott the game,
Okay, yeah. A whole 100 people have canceled their pre-orders because they wanted to make a statement on social media. That is not happening widespread.
If you want to cancel your pre-order, I'm not going to judge you for it. If this is where the line is for you, you don't want to be involved.
I still don't care about the witness. Who does?
Play the game. But the opposite is also the same. I don't think people should get mad about others keeping their pre-order and wanting to
Rohan died. Wait, who's that?
Exactly.
Exactly.
I've come too far.
If you're canceling your pre-order and you're tweeting about it, you're probably seeking attention, or you're probably trying to scare Bungie management. Let me tell you, Bungie management, they're not. No, vote with your wallet, sure, but you tweeting that you canceled it, it's not doing nothing, bro.
At this point, to not see the end of this, sunk cost fallacy and all that, I know, but
they killed the wrong Cloud Strider.
I'm a bit more invested than the average person, I think. Don't harass people for...
All the people canceling are going to rebuy when the hype comes back. Exactly. F's in chat for Rohan. 0 F's in chat, please.
Keeping their pre-order. Don't harass people for canceling theirs. There is no correct approach. There is only your approach. There is nothing wrong for wanting to support the people, the individual people and developers at Bungie.
Yeah, how do you support the people and not the management? You can't.
Final Shape a satisfying conclusion. But as I've also said before, it is not your job to care about the plight of game development. I try to educate about it, but at the end of the day, it's not your job to care about how hard it is to make video games or anything related to it. Speaking of individual employees, Joe Blackburn's name was brought up a bunch, and how much blame he should be receiving for any of the events that have transpired.
All right, I'll let him cook. He's not HR. He's design.
In my opinion, based on the information that we have right now,
which is nothing. We have no idea how Bungie operates behind the scenes, by the way. Preface.
Answer should probably be close to 0. Joe is not a business guy. He's not handling financial data. He's the game director. And as far as I know, probably did not have much to do with what happened. He might have known maybe some things were happening earlier than others. Maybe that's about it. Now, could you...
I feel like this B-roll has been going on for way too long. Is this mission really 10 minutes long?
Blame him for not directing the game in a specific way that would have driven more people to the game? Maybe. If people aren't interested in playing the game, that's going to lead to lower sales. But I think to target him directly and specifically as the crux of all the problems at this moment in time would be incorrect.
It seems like the only problem was you projected 45% too much revenue. If that wasn't the case, everything would be fine.
Upper.
You would have got. You would have. Sony would have bought you for less. Sony would have bought you for less.
Grapevine stuff. I don't have anything concrete, but the
and
fact
you'd be
that
chilling.
I hear about it as often as I do leads me to believe that things can probably be done better. That's all conjecture.
Datto is out here fighting for his life in this B-roll.
The don't over-deliver GDC talk came up a bunch as well, about making sure you are delivering a constant stream of content without going too overboard. I was going to make a full video on that at some point. I just never really got around to it. While it has been said in that very conference talk that potentially good ideas were held back as a result of trying to not over-deliver on content, part of the over-delivery message was to not overwork your employees.
Yeah.
If Bungie comes out with
don't over-deliver. That's like
than usual, that becomes
I don't like that
norm,
statement because
that
it's.
people equate a season 2, and if Bungie,
I don't want employees to be crunched. I'd rather have a shit game than have people suffering at their job for sure. But that's a management issue. That's a
that leads to crunch, that leads to burnout, that leads to a worse product, that leads to unhappy employees.
That's
I'm not saying that's the entire
project management
equation,
issues.
but it is a small part of it. Obviously, Bungie not being able to experiment or put things they believe to be good into the game is not great news to hear, and plays into the comments made by IGN where people have been speaking about the low morale of the player base and not really.
Oh, was the whole "don't over deliver" thing a partial quote?
But speaking of delivery,
What's the full? Do you have the full quote on "don't over deliver"?
23 will experience too many issues as a result of what's happened. It's much more long-term kind of stuff that will be affected. Season 23 is probably very set in
The
stone.
1.6 billion was mislabeled for staff retention. Oh, I was under the impression 1.6 billion was added on to the 3.2 billion for this Bungie Sony acquisition for staff retention. All it really did was buy out Bungie shares from employees. Oh, that's not the same at all.
Stone and is basically fully cooked, including potential mid-season changes and whatnot. What I don't see happening is anything in the gap where we have this delay. The second 3 months of Season 23, in my opinion, are going to be bare bones. I don't think Bungie has the time to make new stuff for it, especially if they need to do more to beef up Final Shape. They can't pull from Episode 1 because Episode 1 is post-Final Shape events, and they can't pull from Season 24 because it doesn't exist. Season 23 is the last season. So I'd be very surprised if Bungie was able to come up with content to fill the void.
All they got to do is create a 31st anniversary.
Have popped back up. Is this a time?
Duh! Come on. Next
now?
problem.
I don't think my tone has shifted on the Destiny 3 conversation situation.
Beware of the
at all.
over-delivery
I think
patterns
Destiny
you're
2
creating.
Need to go into a very significant hibernation for Bungie to even think about Destiny 3. They're in a vicious cycle right now. Poor revenue leads to budget cuts, which leads to fewer people working on the game, which can lead to less content.
Domino effect.
Which can lead to less revenue, etc., etc. It's probably going to take Bungie 3 months to even recover from the layoffs, figuring out how to replace the work that is now gone without hiring new people to do that work. That's also part of the delay with Final Shape. Bungie's current job is to try to find a way to course correct and try to just blow people out of the water.
Good clutch right there.
Even if they do blow people out of the water, that's still not going to stop a significant portion of the community from dropping the game entirely after Final Shape, because some people were going to do that anyway. Final Shape needs to be a banger to inspire confidence in people to stick around after the main show is over.
That's
Bungie
the hard
also
part.
needs to figure out how to onboard new people.
Not to mention productivity tanks with low morale.
Not gonna be able to
Yeah.
live
How many
off
people at
of
Bungie right now are
the
updating their resume who didn't get fired and potentially putting out feelers for jobs just in case?
Hold on until after Final Shape in order to really make a push for this, but it's looking bleak. I'm gonna keep it a buck. I understand the need for old content to be removed from the game. DCV, I don't like it. I understand why it needs to happen.
I mean,
but
WoW
that doesn't
removes their
change
content
fact
all the
that
time,
people
right?
Don't want to hop into the game if they can't do it from the start of the game. For starters, I know this stuff goes on sale all the time, but make it easy for people to get into the game at any point in the year.
Anything over a year old is free. Up your player count, Bungie.
I know the game's free to play. I'm not talking about that. Shadowkeep.
It ain't free to play. It's free to try. Bungie shill. This Datto guy. Bungie shill.
It free. Forsaken Pack. Make it free. Beyond Light, $5.
No, make it free.
Queen, $5 to $10. 30th Anniversary Pack, $5. Do something.
New players are dying to play Shadowkeep. A new player showing up to Destiny, right? You play the game and you boot it up. You're like, oh, okay, I've been enjoying it. It's free. Oh, let me try this campaign, Shadowkeep. Oh, I gotta spend money on this? Oh, do you get the first mission for Shadowkeep and Forsaken's gone. Beyond Light, isn't like first mission always free? No, make it all free if it's over a year old.
To make getting into the game a little bit easier versus waiting for a sale. Yes, I know that I've said millions of dollars of research has gone into pricing things a very specific way to extract the most amount of money, but dude, get some fresh blood in the game. Try something, man. Why is Shadowkeep still base $25 or $30,
Wild.
whatever it is? Jeez.
Wild. Shadowkeep came out in 2019. 4-year-old. 4 years old. Wild.
Questions about the future. What happens with Final Shape and what happens with episodes? Or after that? I think episode 1 is safe. I still think we get episode 1.
I paid full price for Shadowkeep. They should have to play full price. I bought my car for full price. I'm gonna sell you my car for full price.
Like, yeah, it's just brain dead, dude.
And I would say episodes 2 and 3 are fairly likely. Bungie might have had layoffs, but they're still a big company, and they still need to make something to support all of the people who work for the company. But again, it comes down to trying to entice people to stay with the franchise. Most of my season recap videos can be summarized with, it was just more Destiny. And it's very clear that just more Destiny is not gonna cut it. I've said it a bajillion times. I think I said that at the end of Beyond the Light. People are tired, they're fatigued, and 2023 has been one of the best years for gaming in terms of good games to play since the year 2000, but ironically, one of the worst for game dev layoffs. So
Inflation. Costs are higher. A lot of live service games kind of struggling. Single player games are great. But yeah, in the last 20 years, if you look at, like, if you summarize all of the game reviews in 2023 compared to 2000, yeah, 2023 is the best year in 20 years.
Destiny is stale, and there are a million other great games out there that people are going to want to play instead.
Greed is higher, yeah.
Indie to AAA. And the longer those other games keep you away from Destiny, the less likely you're going to want to return without something awesome pulling you back. And again, even if Final Shape is the traveler's gift to gaming, you are still going to have people who are just done with the franchise. It's a very difficult spot to be in. For those of you who are getting annoyed that I'm not blaming someone yet, this paragraph goes out to you. I think I'm struggling with pinpointing the people to blame, other than maybe someone like Pete Parsons, who is the CEO, because I feel like I don't know who to even target, which is why I'm more on the side of
we don't know.
empathy for the individuals at Bungie versus trying to target like Bungie Corp.
Yeah, they purposely keep it hidden from the community, so dangerous things don't happen, basically. Because we've had that. Public-facing Bungie employees receive heat equals death threats. So in this case, keeping Bungie Corp, whatever, hidden from public view, probably the best decision.
When there's just
people be crazy on the internet.
Mysterious Bungie / Sony ? Illuminati upper management group just apparently controlling everything, and they're
the man behind the curtain
with the game, and them not caring about anything the employees are saying about this. Who do you target? This nameless, faceless entity of upper management? Cool Guy posted a video, I put it in the description, going over Glassdoor reviews that employees can give about their employer. And every negative is just upper management this, upper management that. And this is not a new phenomenon. Trust me on that. It's not new. How do you target or accuse or hold someone accountable when it's just this blob of people who apparently control the whole damn show? You point, and there's just this giant mass of something that is unidentifiable, which makes upper management both completely accountable for the issues and also completely unaccountable because it's just a blob of nebulous nothingness. Sure, Pete Parsons, he's in the picture. CEO is usually the first person you look at. And if these quotes are accurate, him saying we kept the right people, as noted by one of the articles in the description, is a bonehead quote when you ditch people like Salvatore. How much blame?
Do we have proof that that was a real quote, or is it just someone said something at something, and then someone reported that something. Is it true? Could be. Is it not true? Could be.
Do you assign to him for the issues with the game? All of it? He's a CEO. He's top dog. I don't know what he does day to day. Some of it, surely, because he's the CEO, right? I'm not defending him. I just don't know.
Hasn't been denied. You think?
Don't know.
You think Pete's gonna get on Twitter and say, "Yeah, I said that."
At something, upper management. That's not satisfying. I don't know where to focus this anger. I think a lot of people don't. I think that's part of the problem, is that we can't just look at someone and be like, you, like we don't. There's nowhere to just pinpoint.
I thought it's always just blame the content creators.
So instead, I focused my energy a lot more.
Datto shooting one galley at a time and then reloading. That's real LEP hours.
On just the empathy for the people actually making the game on the ground floor. And this paragraph is something that I don't think I really harped on enough during my live stream because I just didn't know how to word it at the time. I got a lot of questions about me and just other creators in the D2 space. How am I feeling about the whole thing? What's going on with my sabbatical that I'm...
I feel great.